What is a proven lie that everybody continues to believe? Your bully will grow up to be a loser with a low-income job or will end up working for you. Quite often they go on to lead perfectly normal lives with a decent level of success. Some even get ahead and do better than you ever will. I guess people want to believe in karma. My bully from high school is a doctor, so my 5th grade bully's dad died. He didn't bully me anymore after that. And I never spoke to him again. He still lives around where we grew up and has a nice family from the looks of Facebook stalking. Edit: his dad died piloting his plane on approach. It was a school morning and I saw it on the news. He was the only one on board. I told my dad who he was, and my dad made me promise to be nice if I ever spoke to my bully because of what he was going through. But like I said, never spoke to him again. I hold no ill will towards the guy. It was 29 years ago that Marilyn Manson removed a pair of ribs so he could suck his own duck. Ah yes. I also went to middle school. I went to middle school in Sweden and heard this. What gives? Can confirm that the same story went around in Finland too. I went to school in the United Arab Emirates and that story went around my school as well. Only now am I realizing it's not true. I'd kill to know who made up that rumor. They somehow managed to spread, without much use of the internet at all, a rumor so effective it was able to reach every country in the world. Probably some kid's mom when she found out his friend from school introduced him to Marilyn Manson. My mom never cared about what music I listened to growing up and she was even really cool about things when I got in trouble at school. That is until she picked up my copy of The Golden Age of the Grotesque from the principal's office at the Catholic school I went to. She despised Marilyn Manson, despite never having heard a single song or any interviews with him. She broke the CD and searched my room for the first time ever. She tore up all of my band posters in my room and even called my friends' parents warning them of the atrocities we were listening to. About 2 years ago I finally convinced her to watch an interview with him. She definitely felt bad about it and wrote me a check for $14 for the CD she broke, LOL. At that point, I felt guilty since I bought the CD with the change I stole off her dresser when I was 13, but she never knew that and I still haven't told her about it. That night I ended up counting $14 in change from my car and put it in hers. Einstein never failed math, but so many people still believe it. In fact, when he was shown a clipping from Ripley's Believe It or Not where it claimed that, he responded, "I never failed in mathematics. Before I was 15 I had mastered differential and integral calculus." On a similar note, some students tried to call out my teacher. Bill Gates didn't need to go to college. He dropped out. Teacher, he dropped out of Harvard. If you can get into Harvard, feel free to drop out because you're probably smart enough to be successful either way. We're a dinky Midwest town, so Harvard name carried weight. Never heard anyone try to use that again. Bill Gates also dropped out because his side business, Microsoft, was making serious money despite him attempting to juggle Harvard and Microsoft. If your side business is making more than you are likely to earn at a job despite you only working on the business part-time, then go ahead and drop out. Hair grows back thicker after you shave. Or that it grows faster after shaving/cutting hair. So why does it feel like it does? The tip of your hair naturally wears down to a point. After you shave, the ends are blunt, which makes the hair look thicker. So it's true that hair will look thicker after you shave it? For a little bit, until the tips wear down over time again. Also when it grows from 1 mm to 2 mm, that's double in a day. When it goes from 9 mm to 10 mm, it is hardly noticeable. That we only use 10% of our brain. I think we only use 10% of our hearts. Your blood is blue while it's pumping around inside you. Some people say it turns red when it's exposed to oxygen, like through a cut. I'm not a blood doctor, but doesn't blood contain oxygen already? Some might say that is literally its job. Blood with different amounts of oxygen will be different colors, but it's all shades of red. But after it drops off the oxygen to your body and before it gets back to your lungs, it's darker. I also doubt merely being exposed to air will oxygenate it, but I have no idea how blood absorbs oxygen. That teaching sign language to a deaf child will hinder his ability to speak. I believe it's been found that deaf children with cochlear implants who were first taught sign language had an easier time learning English. It's the language foundation that matters, it doesn't matter what language that is. Which is pretty fascinating when you think about it. Sign languages seem so different, yet in our brains they function very similarly to spoken languages. Turns out that language will always be language. That it's illegal to drive with the lights on inside the car. It might not be illegal, but it's still a bad idea. My mother made it out to be the end of the world. I was mildly terrified of the dome light in a moving car after dark my whole childhood, lol. It wasn't me. Shaggy, it very clearly was you were even caught on camera, not to mention in multiple different locations. The Shaggy defense is a legal term when you outright deny something even though there is overwhelming evidence against you. Non-corroborated evidence, baby. Although in the song the eyewitness testimony of the appellant, henceforth known as Honey, is corroborated with photographic evidence, and medical evidence such as marks on the shoulder. Gum takes 7 years to digest. I realized this was fake in high school. Story time. Well, I was chewing gum. And boy was I chewing it. And a few hours later, it completely dissolved in my mouth. I sat there in shock, and realized my belly wasn't full of delicious watermelon bubbly yum. Life-changing moment. I have a dissolving gum story, but it's much worse. I was in Vietnam on a holiday, sitting on the tour bus happily chewing my gum when the tour guide told us to apply bug repellent and sunscreen. I pulled out my tube of super-powered extra Bernie bug ducker cause mosquitoes suck. It was basically as high a concentration of DEET as they would sell. As I was applying it, I got a tiny bit in my mouth, which is bad enough as it stands cause that stuff is toxic as duck and tastes horrible, but to make matters worse it broke down the gum I was chewing, which instantly turned into a stringy lumpy liquid that tasted like chemically mint. Worst thing I have had in my mouth in a long time. The wolf pack dynamic, alpha male etc. We have decades of dog training knowledge based on a mistake. The guy who came up with the theory has retracted it even. That a good Samaritan can be successfully sued for pulling someone out of a burning car. This one isn't a lie so much as it's based on a lot of misinformation on what actually happened. The facts of the actual case. The car was not on fire. The Good Samaritan ignored the other 2 occupants of the vehicle. She yanked the woman in a way paralyzed her from the waist down, then dropped her on the ground. Alcohol was involved. Since both cars were returning from a night of drinking, it's highly likely the Good Samaritan was intoxicated. All this considered, you can understand why the victim sued her supposed rescuer. Edit: successfully sued. As many have pointed out, you can sue for just about anything in the US. That doesn't mean Teague case will be given any consideration.